I'm Billy S, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the short yet sweet adventures of Link in the Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. Specifically, we're ranking the game's various bosses from worst to best. A tiny bit of housekeeping: depending on who you ask, Minish Cap either has 6 bosses or 8, depending on whether we consider Vaati's 3 distinct phases as their own separate boss fights. I'll be doing what I did with my Tears of the Kingdom boss ranking in 2023, and splitting the distinct phases into their own entries. Vaati's fight is far longer, and each phase is drastically different enough that I think we can justify it. So with all that being said, be sure to parry that subscribe button to stay up to date on all my future videos, and let's jump in. Every Minish Cap boss ranked from worst to best. Let me know your favourites down below. At number 8, we have the Big Octorok fought in the Temple of Droplets. The Minish Cap had a lot of opportunities to play around with the shrinking mechanic, not only in the gameplay but also in the setting. It's why 2 of the major dungeons in the game take place in shrunken locations, which meant the developers needed to get smart with their boss designs as well. So a regular Octorok is a simple beast to defeat at normal height, but when you're a Minish, it is a different story. You have to unfreeze the Octorok and follow it into the boss arena, where your goal is to deflect the Octorok's boulders back at the body. Doing this will cause the boss to freeze in place, allowing you to run around to the flower on its back and light it with your lantern. This sets the boss on fire, and you rinse and repeat until the Octorok goes down. I like that when the boss freezes, the floor of the arena does as well, introducing icy movement, and that the boss gains extra abilities like an ice breath and a smoke screen as the fight goes on. But something about the Octorok always felt a little janky to me. It's so big and the arena is so wide, and I don't like when in the 2D games a boss goes out of sight, because it's a guessing game from where it's going to approach from next. Nothing more to say, a solid fight that shows off Minish Cap's gimmicks well, but just is a little uninteresting to me, especially compared to the fun dungeon that came before it. At number 7, we have the Big Green Choo-Choo fought in the Deepwood Shrine. The other boss that normally is a regular enemy, taking on a gigantic variant of the Big Green Choo-Choo, is one of the most iconic moments of the Minish Cap. It's the boss of the first dungeon, it was on the promo material, they needed to sell the gimmick, and what better way to do so than by taking the easiest Zelda enemy of all time and making it a genuine threat. The Choo-Choo will try to follow you around the room, attempting to ram into or jump on top of our hero. You have to avoid those jumps while using your newly acquired Gust Jar to suck in some of the green jelly. The goal is to suck up enough to make the Choo-Choo lose balance, which will eventually cause it to fall to the floor, allowing Link to smack it for actual damage. You rinse and repeat this process, with the green Choo-Choo getting faster and faster until the boss is down. It's a simple fight, as it needs to be for a first boss, yet it has enough difficulty in knowing when to correctly use the Gust Jar that it doesn't feel mindless. A lot of the first bosses in these games feel very uninteresting, and that's not something I can say about the Big Green Choo-Choo. It was such a smash hit that they brought back a giant blue Choo-Choo as a mini-boss in the Temple of Droplets, incorporating its ability to electrocute into its moveset. Either of the fight works wonders. I'm just impressed to see that the Choo-Choos are dangerous in this game. At number 6, we have Vaati Transfigured, the second form of our final boss, and for me, the least interesting, which is ironic because it's the phase designed to take advantage of the Four Sword power-up. But there's something about the arena design being this uninteresting void, and the way the spikes and the power-up tiles just float there that feels very unpolished to me. It doesn't feel purposeful, almost like a ROM hack, a sprite out of place vibe. The actual fight involves you firing arrows at the 8 eyes surrounding Vaati, with the goal to reveal the 4 red eyes. Then you clone yourself into 4 using the same positioning, so that you can attack all of Vaati's weak point eyes in one go. Do this, and Vaati resets, while adding a few extra attacks over time to his moveset. I just don't like how slow this phase can be, with Vaati moving around a ton, leading to you missing a lot of arrow shots to reveal where the weak spots are. His Phase 1 was extremely dynamic and felt like a traditional Zelda fight, while his Phase 3 manages to both use the Minish and Force Sword gimmicks to great effect. Here in Phase 2, I just don't feel like it's a fight that reaches its full potential and feels just so very not Zelda to me. I can't explain it beyond feeling like this fight is just out of place. It's really fun though, and slashing Vaati with all 4 links will never not be satisfying. At number 5, we have Vaati Reborn, the first form of our final boss. You approach the captured Zelda, and are thrust down through the floor into the previous room where you just fought a bunch of enemies, except now you're facing Vaati. Here, he's in the most traditional wizard form you can get, with the goal being to strike the giant eye within his cloak. To do this, you have to wait for Vaati to summon his smaller eyes around him, then you have to destroy them with your sword. Once they all go down, Vaati is stunned, allowing you to slash at him. This phase took me 2 attempts though, because all of my Zelda instincts were like, oh, you have to shoot the main eye with arrows, right? Years of Zelda arrow puzzles finally caught up to me, and it was only after dying and being sorely confused that I realized I could just hit the boss with my sword. When he summons 4 smaller eyes around him, he can use them to fire lasers downwards at the player, and he can cause the eyes to expand and contract at will. There's also a dark cloud I always try to avoid. Apparently it does a ton of damage, and I found out through research that you can just use the gust jar to negate it. Very cool. Overall, Vaati Reborn feels more like the type of final boss I'm used to, but because it doesn't really take advantage of the game's central gimmicks, and also I think the arena kinda sucks, it doesn't make it to the top half of the list. At number 4, we have Vaati's Wrath, the final form of our antagonistic friend. Ironic that I ended up ranking all 3 Vaati forms back to back to back. Continuing his trend of being a floating dark eye of evil, he would be right at home in a Kirby game. Here you have to avoid Vaati's energy balls, all the while encouraging the boss to chase you with his clawed hands. The claws detach from the main body, roaming across the arena similar to a Floor Master from Wind Waker, and if you use the Cane of Pachi on them, they'll flip over to reveal a small opening. From there, you shrink down to Minish size, you can sneak into the claws, and reveal a host of tiny monsters you need to defeat. Then you simply leave before the arms explode, rinse and repeat with the other arm, and then get ready to play energy tennis with Vaati. You have to charge the Force Sword, splitting into 4 clones, and then position yourself in front of Vaati's 4 charging eyes. The goal is to hit back their projectiles so that all 4 of them hit Vaati's eyes at the same time, destroying them all and allowing you to wail on the boss. And it's as easy as that. He may use a few extra electric attacks, but hey, you've got his number. It takes everything you've learned about Vaati's last 2 fights, and some of the other fights in the game as well, and applies it, allowing you to finally come out on top and save Hyrule. It's a great time. It's just not top 3 for me, as I found the regular dungeon bosses to be a bit more entertaining in the long run. At number 3, we have Mazal, fought in the Fortress of Winds. Like Vaati's Wrath, the main gimmick of Mazal's fight stems from your ability to turn into Minish form. Similar to what we discussed in the previous entry, your main way to defeat the boss involves you entering its head, but to do this, you need to first disable the boss's flying hands. Godan's Aztec twin will attempt to crush you with his fists, and while one attacks, the other is vulnerable with a pink eye on its palm. You need to hit the eye with an arrow to stun the boss, and then use your sword to officially break it. Repeat with the other hand, and then shrink down to enter the boss's stunned head. Here you have to destroy the glowing blue pillar. The first time you enter, it is quite clear which one you need to go for, but for the second and third times, the room will be filled with dirt that you have to dig up. Now, to be fair, I never felt a timer during this portion of the fight, as I had more than enough time to check each pillar thoroughly without getting forced out of Mazal, so in a way, this is an insanely easy fight. I do like though how in the final round, alongside Mazal's hand attacks, he'll also summon small Tektites to attack the player, and use a special beam that instantly shrinks Link, which makes the Tektites even more dangerous. This took me off guard for a second, I wasn't expecting it, and having my own ability weaponized against me was just chef's kiss. I wish more bosses were willing to take advantage of this system, it was genius. Mazal goes down relatively easily, but the use of the Minish gimmick, as well as the really colourful and striking design, lands him at number 3. At number 2, we have the Gjorg pair fought above the Palace of Winds. No, this isn't a boss battle against 2 Gjorgs from Majora's Mask. Instead, we face 2 giant flying manta rays that float above the dungeon. Instead of a boss arena, the entire fight takes place atop their backs, with Link needing to jump from Gjorg to Gjorg in order to stay alive. Like with Varti's second phase, you have to damage the red Gjorg by cloning Link into 3 and attacking the boss's eyes simultaneously. Every once in a while, the blue Gjorg will chime in with fireballs in an attempt to stop us, and sometimes you'll need to ride on him, striking those smaller eyes as you go while the red Gjorg recharges. You'll also need to avoid smaller green Gjorgs that fly by, which can be killed in one hit for health refills. The fight is so unique because you're constantly needing to pay attention to the movements of both bosses, the projectiles heading your way, and your own magic meter as you charge up your Picori blade, all the while avoiding the urge to jump over obstacles lest you accidentally jump off the blue Gjorg and into the void like I did multiple times. There's just something so creative and enjoyable here, and I like how it really challenged me with an endurance test. You can't brute force your way through this pair. You have to play strategically, wait for your shots, and don't get too greedy. All set to a gorgeous arena backdrop with the skies and the ocean below. Minish Cap is just a beautiful game, and this boss really exemplifies this. It reminds me a bit of Twin Mold from Majora's Mask, a red and blue pair perhaps? Or maybe the way the fight feels so drastically different from other fights in the same game, like Twin Mold was in Majora's Mask? I don't know. But what I do know is that the Gjorg pair is my number 2. At number 1, we have Gleerock, a Gleeok who developed a hard rocky shell which hides within the lava. And fun fact, Gleerock actually started on this script at number 4, but I kept having last minute thoughts thinking, you know what, no, I do enjoy Gleerock, a lot, so fuck it, Gleerock, you're my number 1. Fought in the Cave of Flames, it is the second boss of the game and a real step up from the Green Choo Choo. To start with, Gleerock has a full moveset that expands as the fight continues. He'll start by shooting a few fireballs at Link. Side note, I love the way you can see the fireballs as they go up its throat. The sprite work in this game is godly when it wants to be. You have to use the Cane of Pachi to hit the rocky shell on its back, which will tip it over and cause it to slam into the boss, stunning him. This allows you to run across Gleerock's neck to the yellow gem that is its weak spot. As the fight progresses, Gleerock gains a host of faster fire breath attacks, from shooting a small area to a full flamethrower spread of the arena, and if Link is caught in these, he'll begin running around like a madman, Mario style, until the fire is put out. This is worst case scenario, as it means you have zero control over Link during this time. The other danger comes from when the boss retreats under the lava following its weak spot being damaged. Boulders will begin to fall from the ceiling, and this will pair with the lava in the center of the arena beginning to expand. You get the sense that it's never going to stop. Link pressed against the wall of the arena until, finally it begins to retract. It's just a really cool moment. This boss fight ends up being fun, frenetic, decently challenging. I have nothing bad to say. In fact, I would say it is the most underrated boss in Minish Cap, and it's my favorite. That's my list. Which Minish Cap boss is your favorite? Let me know down below, and be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future videos. I want to give a shout out to my YouTube channel members for supporting me for another month. It is $4.99. It gets you early access to future videos, it gets you a shout out in the description and at the end of videos as well, and it gets you access to special exclusive Let's Plays. If you want to follow me, consider checking out my Blue Sky. It's where I'm most active, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. Adios.